Hello and welcome to Phuket Insights. Today I'm really pleased to be joined by Alex Longman. We're going to talk about his life in Phuket, what he did before, and all his insights since he's been living on the island. Hello, Alex. Thanks for coming into the studio.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Right, well, firstly, can I have a quick summary of who you are and what you do?
Originally from London, England, moved out to Asia in 1998 to Singapore, and then based myself in Thailand now in Phuket, and do a number of things from Rotary, running restaurants, and a couple of my own businesses, selling whiskey casks and a wine preservation product.
Excellent. And so what were you doing before exactly, back down in Singapore?
So I left London coming from the trading floor in the open outcry pits with the funny jackets and shouting and screaming. And then as that all closed and Germany took it all electronic, the only two trading floors left were Singapore and Chicago. And the reason I'm in Asia is I don't like cold weather, so I came to Singapore and moved into the trading pits there, working for a Swiss bank.
Okay. And what was the key event, or what made you give that up and move to Phuket?
So I actually done the circuit around Asia. So I did Singapore and then Tokyo, Hong Kong, back to Singapore. And then as the business started getting more and more compliant and more restrictive, we decided the business wasn't moving that much more forward. So I actually moved roles, moved into trading of iron ore and commodities because I wanted to understand how that worked. And basically, I didn't need to be in an office. I could work remotely. And then I've been coming to Phuket for 15 or 16 years beforehand, backwards and forwards. I mean, I used to commute every weekend from Singapore because it's an easy commute. But then as I managed to work remotely and COVID hit, I sort of up stumps and moved to Phuket and based myself from here and did the reverse commute. So if I need to go back, I go from Phuket to Singapore and spend the majority of my time here now.
Okay. And did you have a house and a business already set up in Phuket?
So I had an apartment in Phuket, which I've had for a number of years. So initially moved into there and then operated from there. I didn't have any businesses running in Phuket at the time. I have a few now, but at the time I didn't have anything. And then we stayed in the apartment there for a while, and then things got a little bit more complicated with kids, etc., and schooling. So we then ended up buying a place closer to the school circuit. And now live, just a stone's throw from the studio here.
Was there any issue with, as a foreigner, with owning property? Are there any rules, or I mean, what's your? I didn't actually ask you. What's your situation? Are you single? Are you married? You got children?
So fortunately, I'm married to a Thai, so it makes life a hell of a lot easier for me to say anybody coming in as an expat family. So as a foreigner, you can't own land. You can own condominiums if it's a 49-51%. So they have foreign freehold condominiums, so you can own those. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult to own property unless you work your way around building it into a company, etc. But I mean, not my expertise, so I wouldn't be able to comment on how that structure should set up. But there are ways and means to do it. But for me, it's reasonably easy because I'm married to a Thai, so the property goes into the wife's name and we live easily there.
All right. So when do you consider that you actually moved here full time? How long ago?
So it was quite interesting. I moved here about 8.5 years ago, full time. And it was quite an interesting story because I came here, moved up here, and then as I was trying to find roles in the commodity space, I flew down to Singapore, had an interview with a company there, and then as that happened, Phuket closed their airport, which has happened on numerous occasions. Having weekends away and having the airport closed, I just told the wife it wasn't a problem, don't worry about it. And then 24 hours later, Singapore closed their airport, and that was it. I was stuck in Singapore for 7 months, not being able to get back.
Really?
So COVID ultimately was the game changer to move everything solidly up here and stick here.
Okay, back then though, when you first came to Phuket, can you tell me what your first impressions were, expectations against reality?
Phuket now to then has changed an awful amount. It's a bit like when I first got to Singapore in '98, and every car was a normal car, and then slowly the Mercedes and the BMWs and all of these cars started moving, and you saw Singapore suddenly grow in terms of you know, expats and wealth, and the average class moving up a level. I see that now in Phuket. You see a lot more sort of foreign cars on the road, whereas back then, anything eight years back, it was very much. You still had the beach chairs, but it was very much a laid back society. It wasn't too
interesting observation.
It wasn't too foreign driven, whereas you see now it's very much foreign driven, and there's enclaves of places that are growing and becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. Boat Avenue, for example, used to be, there'd be 2 or 3 restaurants there. There'd be Lucaccini's, there'd be you know, even Boccaccino's at the time. You know, another good Italian restaurant was down in Camilla, or on the way to Surin. So you know, now every other place in Boat Avenue is a restaurant. You know, it's overkill in terms of just growth and businesses building.
Okay, so from that time, what has worked for you and what hasn't?
I mean, I love the lifestyle of Thailand, and I love the lifestyle of Phuket. You're either, if you're thinking of moving here or considering moving, you're either a city and a town person, or you're a country person, is how I see it. And Phuket's pretty much, I would say, still leaning towards the countryside of life versus, you know, the bustling hype of Bangkok, which is also absolutely amazing. But if you're that type of towny person, I wouldn't say Phuket's the right place for you. I still like it in the sense of it still feels very holiday-ish, as if you're away. And yes, we are living in the tropics, and that has its pros and cons. I mean, it gets awfully hot, and you know, and can be quite troublesome at times. But otherwise, it's, yeah, I love the lifestyle of being here. I mean, I love the fact that the beach is accessible. The airport's accessible. Singapore's only an hour and a half away. Bangkok's only an hour away. So, I mean, you've got every connectivity you need. If you want to go back to a city, you can do. But I like being able to go to the beach with the kids at the weekend.
So the lifestyle definitely works for you.
For sure.
And the geography of the island. But then I have to ask again, what doesn't quite work? Is there anything that it hasn't worked out for you, or any mistakes you may have made that you would do something differently?
I think coming from cities and coming from places that are super efficient, for example, Singapore. I mean, Singapore's very, very efficient. You expect things to be able to be done very quickly, and you expect things to be able to be worked out and accessible very quickly. That doesn't quite happen in Thailand. So, I mean, if you're thinking of moving here, or if you are, you know, if you only just got here, you really need to remember you need to step back a couple of times before you can move forward first, because it really is it tests your patience. But when you suddenly start realizing how things work out, then you just survive. You deal with it, and it happens. I mean, banking, for example. Yes, you can open up a bank account in Singapore in 10 minutes, and you can be online, and you can have all your transactions going through. Here's a process. It's a process to do that. It's difficult to do. Language barrier is also quite difficult. I mean, you really do. I'm fortunate, as I said previously, I have a Thai wife who sometimes reminds me that she's not my secretary. But you can't operate without having a go-to person, whether it's you know, an assistant or a lawyer's office or a business office or whatever. You really need to have that, because it's really very difficult to get, you know, through various steps of living here.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you then, basically, if someone, you know, imagine someone else asks this question: what's the main upside of being here? What's the main upside of being in Phuket for you?
For me, I love the lifestyle. I love the food. I just like being here. I like the weather. You know, the weather's great. I like warm weather. I like the food. I like the spicy food. I like the different flavors. I like, you know, I like the lifestyle. I'm not living in a condo. I'm living in a villa. You know, you've got villas with I don't have a swimming pool, but there's villas with swimming pools, you know, which you wouldn't necessarily get if you was living in London or Singapore, or for that matter.
So the laid-back lifestyle, basically.
It's a laid-back lifestyle, and you drive yourself as hard as you want to drive yourself, but society's not going to drive you, you know.
And are there any downsides that people tend not to talk about that you would highlight?
trying to get through the airport times could be troublesome. You know, if you're at the back end of a couple of flights coming in from somewhere else, it can be quite time consuming.
Yeah, Hiker was sat there for 4 hours the other day.
One of the wishes I'd like is if you do have a visa here, they put an express channel in so people that are actually living here get to use a fast track channel. But that's obviously a wish I'd like to happen at some point if they ever chose to do that. So the immigration can be problematic at the airport if you're just stuck behind a couple of planes and they all land at the same time. Traffic at times, I think you need to realise it's a seasonal island. You know, we have high seasons, we have low seasons, we have shoulder high seasons, and traffic can be extremely troublesome at times. Certainly sort of January, February, and you just need to either try not to travel around the island or realise you need to give yourself an extra hour to get from one place to the other. But I guess it's no different from rush hour in Singapore or rush hour in Jakarta or rush hour in Bangkok. But because in low season you can get from A to B in a very quick period of time, you tend to forget that when high season comes and the tourist numbers, you know, boost up and hotels are at 90%, we've got double the population on the island, and you tend to forget that when you start living here.
Excellent. So what's next? Where do you see yourself in, say, next year or 5 years' time? What do you think you'll be doing?
I'll still be here.
Yeah.
I don't plan on going anywhere. I mean, I love this place, and yeah, maybe I'll move further out, you know, away. What's happening in Phuket is the small areas that were always quite tourism popular have become more and more dense, and there's a lot more building, a lot more construction. So actually these small places that we knew 5, 10, 15 years ago are becoming bigger and bigger. So these small towns and villages are now becoming sort of mini cities or suburbs of their own, and you can see the division of Phuket moving into to different areas. So if you're living in Siam, for example, you won't end up moving from Siam. You'll stay in that sort of vicinity, like living in the UK. You stick in your same borough, and you don't tend to move out of that unless you're visiting somebody. And I think Phuket will end up being like that. So you've only got to look at the supermarkets here or the petrol stations to see that things are spreading out further and further. We're not just looking at Boat Lagoon anymore, and we're not just looking at Bantao anymore, and we're not just looking at Kamala and around those beach areas. I mean, everything's slowly progressing out, which can only be good and progression for the island, because I mean, it will spread and the traffic will probably alleviate, I would hope, at some point, because people won't need to go from that one essential place.
There is a lot of development going on, and some of it's quite exciting. The infrastructure doesn't seem to be moving too quickly, but hopefully it'll improve. But yes, I mean, also I think one thing that's, when I feel a little bit crowded here, is it's only 40 minutes and you've been Phang Nga. You know, if you want a bit of space, you know, you can go up in the Phang Nga Bay area, which is great for a break, and then you can come back to the more central hub of Phuket, because that's what makes it lively. It is busy, and it is slightly crowded, and that's what gives it its vibrancy. But if you need a break, you're not stuck here. You can you can drive. Do you concur with that sort of thought?
Absolutely. I mean, I've never been busier here. There's always something going on, whether it's a lunch or it's a dinner or there's a wine tasting or there's a or a kids activity or a birthday party. I mean, I'm busier here than I ever was in Singapore. But it's fun activities and sort of it's what would I say? Groups of people. I mean, it's enjoyable. But you're completely correct. I mean, I've just come from nearly a 3,000 kilometre road trip for Songkran, which is the Thai New Year. So we went up to hometown. We drove to Bangkok. We did a couple of days in Bangkok. That was like a 12-hour drive, and then we drove up into Isan and spent Songkran up there and come down. So yeah, the country's got everything. I mean, you've got Chiang Mai where it gets cold and they grow strawberries and coffee, and then like you said, Phang Nga is only max an hour away, or Khao Lak, which is an hour and a half, which is going back 20 years to what Phuket used to be on the beaches, where it's all wooden shacks and a lovely beach and a nice sea and a couple of nice hotels if you want a nice hotel. But it's easily doable for a weekend away. And, staycations are great. I mean, we go up and we do camping next to the river and do bamboo rafting down with all the kids. It's brilliant.
Fantastic. Is there anything else you think that people should know in general about life in Phuket, or if you're thinking about moving here?
I would certainly. One of the things that was probably first on my agenda was sorting out my health insurance.
Mm.
Now, the medical system here, and there's a lot of medical tourism that comes into the island, it's huge, absolutely huge. And the hospitals are second to none.
Yes, they are.
They're absolutely brilliant. I mean, I had this conversation with my father in the UK, and he's on wait lists for weeks. And, you know, you go in here and you don't need an appointment. You walk in and you're seen to within 45 minutes. But it comes with a premium. You know, you pay your price to do that. So, I mean, I would strongly recommend anybody thinking about coming here is to make sure you've got proper insurance cover. Yes, you can go to the local hospitals, but you're better off paying the money and going somewhere where you can go to an international hospital like Bangkok Hospital or Buminggrad, which is opening up soon up near the airport, and being seen, you know, at an international standard like you'd expect from your home country. That's probably one. I mean, for those with kids is another consideration. So, I mean, schooling, there's some very good international schools here. You've got British International, you've got United World College, just to name a couple, and a Head Start. They also don't think that Phuket's cheaper than anywhere else in the world. The same school fees apply across the globe. So, I mean, if you're sending your kid to UWC, which my oldest one went to, the school fees are no different in Phuket than they were in Singapore. I send my other three to like a Thai international school, which is great, but obviously we want the Thai commitment to their education as well as the English. We're very, very pleased with Kai Jung Kiet.
Yes.
I mean, the schools go to, each three kids go to a different Kai Jung Kiet. Very happy with it, been happy with it for a number of years now. I mean, the 15-year-old's been in there since she was 6.
But she speaks Thai, right?
She speaks Thai and she speaks English,
Yes,
but her English is better than her Thai. But
I get we considered that school, but I think for our boy, the language would be a real barrier. Whereas you're quite fortunate in their mother being Thai. I imagine their Thai.
So you have a Thai curriculum, or you have the Thai English curriculum. So they
It's true,
do
but to be considered to be taken on as a pupil, you have to pass a certain level of Thai capabilities. Whereas at the international schools, as long as you pay, it's not a problem. Okay, cool. And
But I mean, I've got friends with kids in British International, love it. I've got friends in Head Start, which think it's fantastic. One of the things around this area is the middle school, which we have, which has the international schools you don't have that problem with. So, but the Thai international schools, as soon as you get to middle school, which is 11 to 15, there's nothing around this whole area as yet. And I mean, I'm sure that's going to change at some point. But right now, I've got 3 kids going to 3 different schools every morning to be dropped off. So it's logistically problematic.
so, Alex, earlier you mentioned the Rotary Club. What's your involvement with that?
So for my sins, I've been president for this last year, and I'm president for next year. Yeah. So there's 11 Rotary clubs on the island. So one of my passions is doing good for the community and paying forward. I mean, I love it. I do lots of different things like that. As you know, we've done the tuk-tuks around Sri Lanka, etc. So I'm being president of the Rotary Club and connected with the other 10 clubs on the island. We're the only English-speaking club in Phuket, and then amongst Rotary International, there's now 1.5 million members across the world with this. So we have visitors coming in a lot. I mean, a lot from Australia. We have visitors and Rotarians coming in that come and attend our meetings once a month and chat. But we do fundraising. We go out for dinners. You know, the first Tuesday of the month we'll go out for dinner, and we get new people coming into the community, people that have just arrived here, that want to network and meet some like-minded people. So it's a good networking fellowship dinner, and you know, they can ask us, a bit like we're doing now, ask questions about the community and what's going on. One of the big projects we've been doing over the last few months is funding 2 new emergency ambulances on the island. So we've just got the funding through for Patong Hospital to fund them for a brand new emergency ambulance. So the medical system, as we highlighted earlier about getting your medical insurance, is very underfunded in terms of really helping and what you'd expect coming from a Western community. So we've bought the emergency ambulance for Patong. They have 6 ambulances, all of which are 15 to 20 years old. Nothing's up to date. We went to have a look at one. It's got sellotape holding the lockers up inside and everything else. And this is your response for a motorbike accident or something that happens at sea, which is, again, we have many problems on the island with tourists coming over, and they don't understand the rip tides and the currents. So amongst many things, we're funding the ambulances. We do a life-saving course for children across the island to learn how to understand rip tides, how to survive in water, how to do CPR and resuscitation.
There's been a few accidents, haven't there, every year with the rip tide stuff?
Yeah.
A real problem on the West Coast?
A lot, yeah, a lot of the time, yeah. I mean, it's pretty, and I mean, this is not necessarily just with Thais and Thai children. This is with foreigners that come over from maybe the Middle East, and they don't have tides and waves and rips and everything else, and they go out and all of a sudden it gets far too deep for them, and then they're in trouble and they get stuck, yeah.
So your advice is if the flags are red, don't swim?
Correct. I mean, the lifeguards, as much as they put their lives at risk to try and rescue you, there's a point where if it's too rough and you're not a confident swimmer, you don't go out. And the waves can get rough. I mean, we have a surf season here.
Yeah, because it's primarily in what we call the low season that's dangerous on the West Coast. The high season is perfectly safe most.
But a lot of, I mean, you do still get rips at any time through the year, which is the one that catches a few people out. But I mean, it is pretty tragic. We do have a lot of drownings on the island just because people don't understand or don't adhere to the safety precautions of the signage or the flags, etc.
And so the Rotary Club is.
So we do signage, and we're teaching. We support the Life Saving Association here, so that's one of the projects. We do medical. We again highlighting the road traffic. So, I mean, we have a lot of road traffic accidents. Like, it's not Western style driving here. I mean, as you would know, you're driving down the road to come to the studio here, and you've got bike after bike coming on the side on your left-hand side, driving up the wrong side of the road. So we put road traffic cones in and bollards into all of the U-turns, because every month there was one death and many critical injuries. So that sort of slowed the traffic on the U-turns and protected those that need to do.
Yeah, so that's a good idea.
And that was funded by the Road Safety Foundation in the UK that came to us to say, well, we'd like to do something. Can you propose a project? And this is what we're going to do.
Excellent.
Yeah. So it's good. We give back to the community, and we've got 38, 40 people that are all doing this, and we do the old people's home and the special needs school, and we're just about to start a wheelchair project, coming from the Shares of Love Foundation in the US that want to start Thailand up. So that this won't just be about Phuket. This is going to be across this side of the country, and we'll go into Hua Hin and Bangkok and try and build it from there.
Oh, that's excellent.
And then we've just, knowing you're a keen diver, we've just put this artificial reef in on Ratcha, which was funded by Rotary, which is this big sculpture of the Thai dragon. So that to help now start rebuilding all the coral reef around Ratcha Island. So that's just been installed over the last month with a whole team of scuba divers and underwater construction people. So yeah, it's quite interesting, quite exciting.
Alex, thanks very much for coming in. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. If you enjoyed this conversation, do subscribe to the channel. It will help us grow. And I'll see you in the next one.